There is a lot of paperwork, processes, and procedures to follow during an emergency. These are all important, but the most important thing is the people. People won't care if the ESS plan is not perfect, but they will remember how they felt at the reception center. This video provides some guidance on how to talk to evacuees and to make them feel as welcome and as comfortable as possible in the reception center. Everyone working at a reception center is likely to have to speak to an evacuee at some point. Certain functions such as meters and greeters or referral workers will certainly spend a lot of their time talking to evacuees. But all ESS staff should be prepared to talk to them, even if it's just to point them to an appropriate service. A reception center is needed because an emergency has caused people to leave their homes or prevented them from returning home. They may have had little or no notice and may experience a sense of fear about their own well-being and that of friends and family. Uncertainty about whether their home is okay and a sense of loss if they know it isn't. All of these emotions can contribute to emotional trauma. The best way to talk to evacuees is through active listening and with empathy. Active listening involves 5 simple steps. The first step is to prepare. Make an active choice to listen to what is being said and clear your mind of all distractions. The location in which you hold the conversation is also important. Trying to listen here will be challenging, so think about your surroundings. Are you both comfortable? Perhaps a coffee or drink of water may help the evacuee relax. Second, listen to the facts conveyed through words, as well as the feelings conveyed through body language and vocal tone. Body language and vocal tone provide many clues as to a person's emotional state. Someone who is slumped over could need help. Someone who is tapping a foot might be anxious or nervous. Tone of voice also provides clues to a person's emotional state. Softly spoken, monotone conversations may be a symptom of shock. Third, ask open-ended, clarifying questions to ensure we understand their concerns. An open-ended question is designed to encourage a full, meaningful answer, using the subject's own knowledge and/or feelings. It is the opposite of a close-ended question, which encourages a short or single-word answer. Open-ended questions also tend to be more objective and less leading than close-ended questions. Perhaps the most helpful open-minded question is, how does this make you feel? This question, or some variation of it, has become a bit of a cliche, but the reason it is so widely used is that this style of questioning can be so effective. When talking to evacuees, we are attempting to understand their needs. Using open-ended questions allows the evacuees to express themselves in their terms. If used respectfully, open-ended questions will help build a trusting relationship where the evacuee can feel safe to explore what's going on for them and the solutions they need. You should be careful of using questions beginning with why. Sometimes this can come across as sounding judgmental and sound like you are questioning a child. For example, why do you need lodging? Is a very abrupt style of question and may be perceived as being judgmental. The evacuee has to justify the reasons they are in the reception center. You might get the information you require much quicker, but it is not likely to build trust between you and the evacuee. Questions such as, how do you feel about staying in a hotel this evening, is probably more appropriate. This open-ended question is far less judgmental and will help build the relationship between you and the evacuee. When talking to evacuees, remember that they may be experiencing emotional trauma. Research has shown that people in crisis experience cognitive disruption, including difficulty with short-term memory and concentration. This means conversations may take longer than expected, and they may need you to repeat the same question or information a few times. It is important not to rush them or force them to talk about something they do not want to talk about. Remember, ESS is all about taking care of people's needs, including their emotional and psychological needs. The next stage in active listening is to confirm you understand their needs. This is where close-ended questions are probably more appropriate, as we are simply looking to check our understanding of their needs. If you are ever in any doubt that you understand their needs, then don't be afraid of reverting back to the previous stage, using open-ended questions to get that understanding. The final stage in active listening is to summarize the conversation. This shows an understanding of both the facts and the feelings conveyed in the conversation. Demonstrating that understanding and doing so with compassion and empathy is critical. Active listening takes practice, but can be used every day to build confidence. Here are 4 strategies to keep in mind when talking to evacuees. First, help them feel safe. They have been evacuated from their homes and may be worried about friends, family, neighbors, and pets. Here's an example.
Right after an abnormal or an unusual or a critical incident, people just don't feel safe. It's just a natural reaction, and our bodies are the first line of attack. Is how do I survive and how do I get myself to safety? After they're at a safe place, like a reception center or something, that feeling of not feeling safe will persist. So there's lots of ways to just help people feel safe. It might even be just moving toward them with a bit of a smile and a nod, or a concern in your face. Remember, this is about people helping people. This is about people being involved in these massive processes. It really comes down to, how can I help this person? So offering a glass of water or a cup of coffee, asking them, how do you think folks are doing? And how about your own family? And how are you doing? In a gradual way, being patient, listening. And you might even get around to the point of saying, well, you're safe here. I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad your whole family's here. And if at that point some fearful things come up again, they're worried about their dog, they're worried about their home, moving back into just being very gentle with this natural reaction of not feeling safe, and reiterating, there's giving them as much information as you can about places where they take dogs, or about how things are getting organized, and just focus right on that concept of, well, for now, you're okay, you're safe for now, and we'll look after the bigger picture later.
Second, help them feel calm. There are many reasons why we would want to help people feel calm. The obvious being that it would help their immediate emotional state. But helping them feel calm can also have significant long-term benefits to their emotional well-being and allow them to recover more quickly from the event.
Well, the first place to start is with yourself. This is a very, very contagious emotion. And trying to be calm when you're in front of somebody who's not calm is not easy. So you want to start with yourself, no matter what's gone on in the few minutes before you've been with them, no matter how much you know about how disorganized and chaotic things may feel in the background. That is, the slate is wiped clean, and you want to really get yourself in a calm place, because it's very contagious. You want to be confident and calm. And then you as you engage with them and you ask them, how are folks doing? How about your family? And if they're able to answer some of those questions, and you can see a lot of anxiety, you can see a lot of distress, we know a couple things. One, information treats anxiety better than any drug. So if you've got any information, simple, straightforward, simple statements like, we're at the early stages of things, we're taking stock, there's a lot happening, we're going to keep you updated as best as we can. You can also make reassuring comments, like things will get better now that you're here, and things are unfolding. It's going to take some time. And if it's appropriate, depending on who you're working with, you can tell them that they can help reduce some of those terrible feelings of distress, which are just perfectly normal. Your body's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. It's telling you this is a serious situation, this is horrible, and it will keep triggering this anxiety and this desire to get to a safe place, to make things better. But now that you're here, you can start communicating that it can calm down. So you want to do that with some nice deep breaths, glass of water. How about we have a cup of coffee right now? Really important for the kids too, that they see you as calm as you can do it. Sometimes you have to fake it till you make it, but it works internally as well. It will help you if you're faking it to make it.
The third strategy is to help them feel like they can succeed. Evacuees may be facing challenges related to the loss of their homes, their livelihoods, and financial difficulties, which can be overwhelming.
In the early stages, right after the impact of a traumatic or a really tough time, people feel it's insurmountable. And if you can in any way, without looking Pollyannish and without kind of being phony, if you can figure out ways to inject hope in there. And sometimes you can do it with a question, does it feel pretty hopeless right now? And that sounds pretty negative, but often people will respond with, yeah, it does, but I know it's not. We've been through some things before and we got ourselves out of it. So injecting hope is one of the most critical things you can do, and one of the trickiest things, because it can come off just terrible and you can get too far ahead of them and they will dismiss you and or get angry at you. So if anybody gets angry, I also think that's a tremendous mobilizing emotion. And I might say something like, we're going to be able to package up all that energy, and it's going to help you in the future. For now, one of the things we have to do is be patient. But I don't want you to lose sight of the fact that there will be some more hopeful times as we go forward. It's hard. It's one of the trickiest things you can do. And take your lead from the person you're working with. Just being patient and listening is the most important thing you can do. And you don't want to be dismissive with that hopeful statement. You want to be more connecting. You want to really connect with them and just figure out how to talk about a little bit about, this has been absolutely shattering and it feels hopeless.
Finally, help them feel connected to others. A reception center is a congregation of people who are not typically part of the same social network, where people are forced out of their normal routines and have to rely on others to provide basic services. It may be an unfamiliar location, possibly in a neighboring community. This can lead to a feeling of isolation. Connecting people to each other and to the services they may require can help alleviate this sense of isolation and helplessness. Here's an example.
Remember, this is about people helping people. It's not about experts rushing in and treating people. It's just about people helping people. And often people are in a great position to help one another. You'll often hear people describe it during these tough times where when they were kind of down, their husband or their friend or somebody they'd just met helped out a lot. I've often found seniors terrific with saying things about the war and how tough times don't last, tough people do, and it comes across really well from a senior citizen. If you can find ways of encouraging people to be with one another, or just talking about who they are, or what communities they come from, or did they know each other before, or were they already friends, and one of the things we notice is kids make friends wherever they go. They start playing right away, and I think adults should take a lead there, get to know the parents of those kids, and start to talk about things that you're interested in, or just plain and simple things that you like to do. So it's not easy. Most of the time the talk will be around the incident, and that's okay too, because this is all about bringing community closer together and finding that capital we have in most communities. Don't forget, disasters and huge events can make us feel like just wanting to be isolated and alone, and that's not a good place to be. So initially it might just be one-on-one, but gradually people will start to actually make connections with other people, and that's one of the best ways for communities to get back on their feet.
All evacuees will be under some degree of stress, but the level of this stress and how it affects them can vary from evacuee to evacuee. Some evacuees will be more challenging to work with than others. This may indicate that they may be under a great deal of stress and require more patience and compassion to deal with that than others. These evacuees may also require counseling to help them deal with the current events they are facing. But remember, abuse is not tolerated, no matter how much stress an evacuee is under. If someone is verbally abusive, talk to your supervisor and security. Likewise, if you are feeling overwhelmed or that you cannot help the evacuee, tell a supervisor and get help. You are part of a team, and there are people to support you too. Here's an example of how to talk to an evacuee under stress.
Everybody's under stress. Some people show it more than others. Some people will fall asleep and they can be experiencing huge stress. So you can't always tell by talking to people. I think making the assumption that everybody's under stress. But then there are those people that you have that are really displaying stress symptoms. So terrific. The ones you can see, you can be helpful to. So if somebody's crying quite a bit, crying releases stress cortisols. It gets rid of all that chemistry that's stressful. And you might even say to them, sometimes there's not much more to do than have a good cry. And I think that's just perfect. I'm going to hang out here with you, and you might offer them a bit of Kleenex. If you say, tell me a little bit about what went on for you, tell me a little bit about things. If you get them talking, they have to go to a different part of the brain. And this raw, spontaneous emotion that they were experiencing is a completely different place. And then they have to go over here and think a little bit about what they're going to say and use language. And then they might begin to cry again. So that going back and forth of talking and crying a little bit and talking and crying a little bit is very integrative. It helps them integrate that experience. It helps them, it's okay. The other thing you might keep in mind is that stress happens in the whole body. Trauma is stored in every cell in the body. It's not just in your brain. In fact, we can have big gaps in our memory. We can remember some things in a distorted way and other things in a what we might call accurate way, and we might forget other things altogether. So we're not going to rely on the brain that much. We're going to try and communicate to the brain and the body to calm down. So having a glass of water, for children, sucking on popsicle or sucking on anything, hard candies is great. Sucking communicates to the body to calm down. We're going to be telling them or talking to them a little bit about, one of the ways we talk to the body is through the breaths. So taking 5 nice deep breaths in and 5 nice deep breaths out is really important. And if you can do that once a day for even a short period of time, 5 nice deep breaths in, 5 nice deep breaths out. You might even do it with them if it's coming across okay. The other thing you might want to try to do is get them to move their body. It's the best way to get rid of negativity and to create more pathways in the brain for figuring things out. But if you just sit and think, you'll stay stuck. So we want people to get unstuck. We'll say, is there any chance you feel like walking with me while we talk about this? If the mom's the one, for example, is displaying a tremendous stress, or if it's the dad, you might say, would you guys be okay here for a little while Dad and I go for a walk? And so he's going to talk while he's walking with you. So the body is getting, communicating that things are getting organized, they're getting more regulated, the hands going back and forth, the feet going back and forth, all communicate to the brain and the body that things are okay now. And it's hard to do that with just telling them that things are okay now. You have to move the body. So if you can get them into understanding they have to do that kind of once a day, that'd be a great thing. Often people will start to come up with their own ideas. I really like to do this. And you say that would be perfect to do. That would be perfect. Moving the body is really important. And then the fourth thing you can talk to them a little bit about, besides the water and the kind of sucking or drinking, swallowing, that's all very regulating to the body. Besides the breath and breathing that communicates, and besides moving the body, the fourth thing is trying to figure out how you can bring them into the present moment. That's where healing happens. Not thinking about the past, not worrying about the future, but figuring out how can I get better by just for even a few moments, staying in the present moment. Kids will often do that with you. They'll be giggling and tickling, or you might sing a song to them. Music will often bring us into the present moment and reaches unreachable states in the body. Or you can even do those adult coloring books. If you do a mandala with the family, it's focused attention. It's bringing you right into that present moment that's very healing. So those are some tips. I wouldn't expect you can get around to them all in 5 minutes. You'll overwhelm folks. But if you can even do one or two of them and tell them, let's connect tomorrow and see how you're doing. Even the going for a walk, or if you and your wife, or if you and your friend can walk while you're thinking things through. That can be very regulating. It can organize the body, can be very helpful. So these small tips can happen right in the present moment, and anybody can deliver them. And they usually are very well received by people. They like knowing they can do something. They like knowing that.
No matter what happens during the response, you should always remember that plans, procedures, and organizational charts are important in creating an efficient response. But the central focus of ESS is helping people cope with the challenges they are facing. Talking to them will keep them at the center of the ESS response.